So last week we talked about the points. So there is a particular category of chakras that I refer to as points. The points are unique and they hold a specific role in the spiritual anatomy, like the point A, B, C, D. We'll study them in detail. So for example, in our body, the nose plays a role in the much larger respiratory system. Like that, points have a specific and crucial role in the larger anatomy. Besides the 16 chakras, there are 4 points, and we'll focus on in this book. Working on these 4 points help us build a strong and stable spiritual foundation. Later in the chapter, we will locate the positions of the 4 points and the 16 chakras. So the 5 elements of the chakras. Yogic philosophy states that the universe is made of 5 elements: earth, space, fire, water, and air. Of course, our modern understanding of matter tells us that certainly there are many more elements than these 5. What the elders intended was to observe 5 distinct attributes of the matter. They made a qualitative observation and not one based on the atomic nature of the elements. So each of the elements represent a unique attribute. Earth is used to describe solidity. Air represents movement exhibited by a gas. Water represents a liquid state, and fire signifies the attribute of matter to transform from one state to another. For example, when heat matter becomes steam, heat water becomes steam. Space is the base, the fundamental material. It was never created, it was always there. It represents the idea of nothingness. Here, space and fire are, like the something to think about. Fire is, it can also signifies energy. The energy transforms to matter, matter transforms to energy, but still the matter has potent energy in it, right? That's why, when you split an atom, it releases enormous energy. So every element is potent with this energy. So fire also signifies energy. And space, if you see, like without a space, even in terms of when you look at it to atomic structure, there's a lot of space in the atom. And if you go further down, split it into strings, which can explode into a 12th dimensional structure, 12-dimensional structure within the atom. That's what the string theory says, right? So there is even in a subatomic particles, there is a lot of space. So space, without space, there is no existence. That's why space also become an element of the matter. From a very scientific perspective, if you see. But Daji gave a very good explanation here that here it is a qualitative observation rather than a quantitative observation. So when we talk about these 5 elements, 5 primordial elements for the make of the matter, it's more of a qualitative attribute. So let's not get into a very scientific perspective from today's understanding. So once we understand this, with this understanding, When you look at the human body, you find that we are indeed made up of five elements. The solidity of the body is the earth element. The various fluids in the body signifies water element. Our breathing is the intake and outflow of the air element. The digestive processes of breaking down food into energy represents a transformative attribute of the fire element. Although body, the space element is present, the space between the cells, the hollowness of blood vessels, intestines, and so on, all signify space. So the five elements are not limited to the physical anatomy alone. They also play an important role in spiritual anatomy. So within each chakra, the qualitative qualities of the five elements are present. And each chakra has one prominent element. Think of it as, uh, think of this way. Pick up a clump of soil and hold it in your hand. The earth element, solidity is dominant, isn't it? But trapped in the clump of earth is the air element, the moisture is also trapped in the soil. So when the sun heats the soil, it bakes and becomes harder. So the transformative quality of fire is also there. So finally, between the particles of soil, space element is present. Still, as we hold in our hand, we would recognize its earthiness first. So too it is for the prominent element of chakra. So look at it this way. I mean, this is more from a very physical explanation. I mean, Daji is trying to basically make it simple for all the readers. But look at it this way. The the make of the even from the all the way from the causal to the physical manifestation is only a transformative process of these five elements. So, like Babaji said, when there was no creation, no existence, even in a singularity, in so-called we are talking about, the space existed. Everything manifested into a space. So that's why space becomes the most primordial element present even before creation. Everything expanded into space. If you read any of these Brian Greens and the physicists, astrophysicists, they talk about space is still expanding. Is space is expanding or the universe is expanding? All other elements are expanding into space. What is the boundaries of space? Or what are the boundaries of space? There is no boundary. So that's why the space also becomes a synonymous conscious element in our system. So look at space like that. And the second is when we talk about the fluidity in the system, right? In fact, Babuji once said, the person with a lot of fluids in the body is more conducive to spirituality because they can absorb more. So each of these elements play a certain role in the spectrum of consciousness. So whenever you look at these five elements, what I would like to think of as not as an element, but think of as a spectrum of consciousness. Okay. So, so the spectrum of consciousness all the way from earth to space. This is the spectrum. So earth being the gross element and space being the lighter element, the spectrum is changing. Even though the order in our system of spiritual anatomy goes from earth to space to fire and then water and then air. That's the order. And there is a reason for that order. We'll talk about it later. So, conditions at chakra. So, of all the traits we cover in this chapter, understanding the conditions created when a chakra is worked on chakra is worked on is perhaps the most important. When a chakra blossoms, the energy bracketed inside is released gradually. This is the most important aspect. Releasing it gradually is the most important aspect. We feel we feel this energy in the form of emotional conditions created. Sometimes if I keep my Kindle open for a while, it creates problems. I'm opening it again. So, conditions at the chakra. So, we feel this energy in the form of emotional conditions created in the heart. When we nurture these inner conditions and make them a part of our nature, they express themselves as qualities in our behavior. In this way, we gradually reprogram our nature by developing the qualities that help us grow and evolve. So, here another thing which is very important to understand is that the conditions we sort of feel, experience, are different from the so-called experiences people talk about. Oh, I'll give you an example from a very mundane example to a spiritual example, right? Suppose if you are in a deep sleep, you go into a dream state. Let's say in your dream state, you saw a snake. If you see read dream psychology on the Google, oh, I had a dream of snake. What is the significance of dreaming of a snake? You'll get 100 answers on Google. If you think of a Scorpio, if you think of a spider, or if you see a lion or any animal elements, for example, animals come in the dream. Or sometimes even depending on which culture you are in and your idea of the gods. And Christians will see Jesus, Paul, or somebody. And Hindus will have many gods. They'll see according to their each desire, they'll see different gods in their dreams, or the same translates into meditational experiences. People experience things in meditation. Again, they'll see snakes in meditation. Again, they'll see lions in meditation, or they'll see gods and goddesses in meditation, right? And some people see ghosts in their meditation, whatever they see. And those are all just like the dream is a mental projection. The experiences which come like this in meditation are also projections of the mind, have no spiritual significance. Again, I'll repeat, have no spiritual significance. There are all mental projections. So, almost about 99% of the spiritual, so called meditational experiences people talk about are all mere mental projections, nothing else, and have no significance associated with them. A spiritual experience is only a condition, a state of change in our consciousness. We feel that contrast between before I went into meditation, after I come out of meditation, you feel that contrast, change in condition, and sometimes loosely called as a spiritual experience or experience of the condition, which are very subtle. There is no form to it, and you know it that it is a condition, it is not an experience. If you understand this difference, your spiritual pursuit becomes much smoother and easier. Or else people are caught up, like somebody says, I saw, the goddess Lakshmi in my meditation and I spoke to goddess Lakshmi. I have seen people saying it, very senior preceptors saying it. And suddenly listening to that, I will think, oh, why am I not getting any experiences in my life? No goddess came to me. I wonder, am I lacking in my spirituality, devotion, and things like that? But what you have heard is a mental projection of another person, and you are unnecessarily worried about it. Correct? So, am I audible all this time? I mean, I was wondering if my internet connection was slow.
We can hear you, brother.
Very good. So, that's why don't get into this trap of spiritual experiences. I am very happy if I don't have any experience. Trust me. Because it's unnecessary burden I need to carry. Okay. I'll tell you an interesting story from the past. So there's a guy who is meditating under a tree. And in the old days, these saints, so-called saints, or the people who have, what should I say, left the material state, life. So that means they don't cook, they don't earn money. Only thing they do is when they are hungry, they go in front of a house and they'll say, give us some food. So the people recognize them being as sadhus or saints or, the ascetics. They give them good food. So that's a typical. So they'll eat the food and then they'll go and meditate. That's all they do in their life. So these ascetics, one guy is meditating under a tree, and the two birds on the tree are making a lot of noise, and it disturbs his meditation. And then he opens his eyes and looks at the birds, and the birds fall dead. So he assumes that he had gained some extraordinary powers. He is very proud. Then he'll go for his regular begging. He stops in front of a house and he says, I am the ascetic here for the food. And the lady in the of the house shouts from inside, right now I am busy, can you please wait? And he waits for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And he was thinking in his mind, what does this lady think, who I am? I'm like the very powerful ascetic. Something like that he starts thinking. And lady from inside shouts, I'm not the birds on the tree to fall dead. Okay. So now this guy now he is wondering, how does that lady know, since, sitting at home, what happened in the forest with me? So now he has no choice but to wait because he's curious to know. How does she know about what happened in the forest, right? So he waits for 45 minutes and the lady comes out and apologizes. I'm sorry because I am taking care of my sick husband and I could not have attended to you because I am busy. So then she gives him food and this ascetic asks her, how do you know what happened in the forest? She says, I don't know. All that I am doing is my duty. Somehow, this intuitively, if any person comes to me, I know about that person. It just happened to me. I did not do anything special. Heartfulness is like that. You just keep doing it, that intuition, that inner mind starts expanding. It's more elegant, more subtle, more serene, more holy than the power like that ascetic to kill the birds. So all our experiences, somehow our inner nature is asking for this power. Without our knowledge, we are seeking that power. And power is always destructive. Power never can be constructive. Daji said, like, if you want to uh, really spoil a person's life, give them power. And we are always wanting this power because we want some control over our surroundings. Just like the story of the Ravana, he gained more and more and power and he did not know what to do with that power. Even like, people who keep guns for their protection, it works against them at some point. So, any power, you cannot just keep it without using it. And it always adds to your destruction. That's why in our spiritual system of heartfulness, there is no power utilized. Transmission is also a powerless power. The spiritual conditions are powerless, ennobling. So if you understand the conditions like that, any spiritual experience is your inner core being asking for power. So don't look for experiences, right? So I'll stop here. Any questions, comments?
I guess I really didn't quite understand. Don't go look for experiences.
Right. Because now if I'm telling you, oh, I saw Jesus in my meditation and he spoke to me. Now it's automatically you are thinking, why am I not getting such experiences? Correct? It's a human nature to kind of have that comparison. So that is what making, now you are starting to look for such experiences. It distracts you from the spiritual goal. It distracts you from the subtle conditions which you are experiencing already.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. And so it's unnecessary distraction and which adds no value to you. Right? So, all right. So let's get into meditation.